when darkness becomes your light, finding vision beyond sight. Have you ever wondered what happens when the thing you fear most actually happens? When the nightmare scenario you spent your whole life avoiding suddenly becomes your reality? I recently had the extraordinary privilege of interviewing Jeanetta Price, a woman whose story will fundamentally change how you think about loss, vision, and what it truly means to see. Jeanetta isn't just another inspirational speaker. She's a revolutionary force who has completely transformed how we understand resilience, purpose, and the human capacity to reinvent oneself in the face of devastating loss. Her work has literally saved lives, created communities where none existed before, and challenged the very foundations of how society views disability. Imagine this. You're 21 years old. Your whole life stretches before you like an open highway. The possibilities seem endless, the future bright with promise. And then, without warning, a brain aneurysm strikes. By 25, your vision is completely gone forever. Most of us would consider this game over, right? The credits roll, story ends, time to resign ourselves to a diminished life. But for Jeanetta Price, this was just the beginning of a far more powerful story. What fascinates me about Jeanetta isn't just her resilience, though that alone would be remarkable. It's how she completely inverted our conventional understanding of loss. She didn't just adapt to blindness, she transformed it into her superpower. When Janetta founded Blind Girl Magic, she wasn't creating just another support group. She was launching a revolution in how we perceive disability, especially within Black communities, where disabilities often carry additional layers of stigma and invisibility. Her organization became a space where women with visual impairments could rewrite their narratives through storytelling and mentorship. Think about that phrase for a moment: blind girl magic. The audacity of putting those words together, the refusal to be defined by limitation, the insistence that magic can emerge precisely from the place society expects only tragedy. After struggling with profound isolation following her diagnosis, Janetta realized her experience could serve as both warning bell and beacon for others facing similar journeys. She channeled her energy into advocacy, creating workshops that fostered self confidence through writing and public speaking. These weren't just feel good sessions, they were transformative experiences that empowered countless Black women to reclaim their identities beyond their disabilities. This is what I mean when I say true vision often emerges from adversity. Sometimes it takes losing what you thought was essential to discover what's truly important. Janetta didn't just lose her sight, she gained a vision so powerful it has transformed countless lives across Texas. Her statewide seminars have sparked legislative conversations about accessibility in schools. Local media features her advocacy work regularly. But perhaps most importantly, she's shifted the narrative within Black communities from one of loss to one of leadership. And here's where it gets even more interesting. Janetta didn't stop there. As if challenging perceptions about blindness wasn't enough, she decided to tackle another mountain: the financial industry, now known regionally as the out of sight mortgage loan lady. Yes, that's actually her business name, and I absolutely love it. Janetta became a licensed mortgage loan originator despite facing significant barriers. Let's be honest, the financial industry isn't exactly known for its inclusivity or accessibility. The licensing process alone is daunting for anyone. Now imagine navigating it without sight, facing industry bias against disabled entrepreneurs at every turn. But Janetta leveraged assistive technology like screen readers and braille software, advocated publicly for inclusive business practices, and built client trust through radical transparency about both her abilities and challenges. The result? over $5 million dollars in total loan volume since licensure, recognition at state level entrepreneur awards, a scholarship fund supporting blind students pursuing careers in business and finance. When I asked Jeanetta about this part of her journey, she said something that stopped me in my tracks. People expect me to be defined by what I can't see, but I've chosen to be defined by what I can envision. That's the difference between sight and vision. One is physical, the other is transformational. Drawing upon lessons learned from her earlier advocacy work, Janetta entered the finance sector using storytelling skills honed through spoken word performances during client consultations. She became the first visually impaired woman named finalist at the Houston Women in Business Awards in 2024. She shattered stereotypes regarding capability and accessibility among financial institutions throughout Southeast Texas. But there's another dimension to Janetta's story that I find equally compelling, perhaps even more universally applicable. And that's her understanding of writing as a healing practice. As founder of The Right to Heal, Janetta hosts interactive poetry seminars that invite diverse participants, including poets living with disabilities, to share their stories on stage. These aren't just creative writing workshops, they're spaces of profound emotional alchemy. Many attendees arrive burdened by trauma or silenced by societal stigma around mental health or disability, particularly within Black communities. The open mic format creates safety for vulnerability, while structured workshops guide participants in using poetry and journaling as therapeutic outlets. The outcomes are nothing short of transformative. Participants report breakthroughs in self esteem. Several have published their own works or launched support groups after attending these events. Annual seminar attendance grows steadily, with testimonials highlighting transformations from overcoming depression to finding purpose after loss. Inspired by her mother, Essie Andrus's example of faith driven leadership during hardship, Janetta built this initiative from scratch after graduate school. She recognized the gaps in culturally relevant healing spaces and decided to create what she couldn't find. Partnerships formed with local counseling centers have extended the impact beyond the event day itself, contributing significantly toward normalizing conversations about mental health and healing among Black professionals across Texas. What Janetta understands, what she embodies, is that writing isn't just about putting words on paper. It's about reclaiming your narrative. It's about processing pain in a way that in, honors its reality while refusing to let it have the final word. When you write your story, Janetta told me, you get to decide where to place the emphasis. You get to choose which parts are the setbacks and which parts are the setup for something greater. This is why I believe so deeply in what Janetta is doing, because in a world that's quick to write people off, especially Black women, especially those with disabilities, she's teaching people to write themselves back in, to pick up the pen when others have tried to erase them. That's another pattern in Janetta's life. Seeing absence not as emptiness, but as opportunity, seeing what's missing and creating it yourself. Which brings me to perhaps the most powerful lesson from my conversation with Jeanetta Price. Your comeback defines you, not your setbacks. Life will deliver hardships. That's not a possibility, it's a guarantee. The question isn't whether you'll face adversity. The question is what you'll do with it. Will you let it define you? Or will you use it to redefine what's possible? Janetta's journey from brain aneurysm to blindness to becoming an award winning entrepreneur and community leader isn't just inspiring, it's instructive. It shows us that our greatest setbacks often contain the seeds of our most meaningful contributions. When she mentors other aspiring blind business owners via online forums and webinars, she isn't just sharing tips and tricks, she's expanding the horizon of possibility for an entire community. This is what true leadership looks like. Not waiting for perfect circumstances, but creating meaningful impact despite and sometimes because of imperfect conditions. So, what does all this mean for you? What can you take from Jeanetta Price's extraordinary journey that applies to your own life? First, consider how you're framing your own setbacks. Are you seeing them only as losses? Or can you begin to recognize them as potential launching pads for new vision? Second, how might you use writing or any form of creative expression to process your pain and reclaim your narrative? Janetta challenges each of us to pick up a journal or open a blank document and write honestly about one setback we've faced this year. Not just to recount the pain, but to imagine possibilities on the other side of struggle. And finally, remember that what defines you isn't what happens to you, it's how you respond. It's the comeback you create from the setback you've been handed. I want you to leave here today, not just inspired, but fundamentally changed in how you view adversity. I want you to understand that your darkest moments may contain the seeds of your greatest light. Right now, somewhere in your life, there's a challenge you're facing, a loss you're grieving, a dream that seems to have died. I'm challenging you to look at it through Janetta's lens. What if this isn't the end? What if this is just the beginning of a more powerful story? Your scars aren't just marks of what you've endured. They're maps to where you're going. Your losses aren't just endings, they are doorways to new beginnings. Today, commit to one act of creative courage. Write one page about your pain. Reach out to one person who needs the wisdom you've gained through suffering. Start one project that transforms your loss into someone else's light. Because here's the truth that Jeanetta Price has shown us. Sometimes our greatest strengths emerge from our deepest wounds. Sometimes our clearest vision comes after we've lost our sight. Sometimes what looks like an ending is actually just the beginning of a far more powerful story. The world doesn't need more people who've never suffered. It needs more people who know how to transform suffering into service. More people who can turn their darkness into light for others. More people who, like Jeanetta Price, refuse to be defined by what they've lost and instead redefine what's possible. Your comeback is waiting. Your story isn't over. And like Janetta has shown us, sometimes the most powerful vision emerges precisely when we can no longer rely on our sight. The question isn't whether you have what it takes. The question is, will you dare to see beyond your circumstances? Will you dare to create magic from what others call tragic? Will you dare to find your light in the darkness? I believe you will. I believe we all can. And when we do, we'll discover what Jeanetta Price already knows, that our greatest limitations often become our most powerful gifts to the world.